The death of Alex Pretti, a young nurse, during ongoing protests in Minneapolis has reignited nationwide outrage and intensified the storm of anger directed at the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or I.C.E. The Trump administration has publicly defended the controversial killing, labeling Alex Pretti a domestic terrorist and insisting that law enforcement acted according to protocol. Alex, who was an American citizen and well known in his community, was shot and killed while clashing with federal agents during a large pro-immigration rally in the heart of Minneapolis. The fatal shooting took place on January 24, with several eyewitnesses present, and disturbing footage of the confrontation was captured live on camera by bystanders. Alex's death marks the second time in January 2026 that federal agents have fatally shot an American citizen in Minneapolis, deepening public distrust in federal enforcement agencies. Earlier this month, on January 7, Renee Nicole Good was also shot and killed by I.C.E. officers under similarly disputed circumstances in the city. In the wake of the killings, tens of thousands of people flooded the streets of Minneapolis, holding mass demonstrations demanding justice and the immediate suspension of I.C.E. operations. The Trump administration, however, defended the agents involved, claiming that Alex assaulted multiple Border Patrol officers, prompting them to fire their weapons in self-defense. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, went even further, officially labeling Alex Pretti a domestic terrorist during a press conference that has since drawn sharp criticism.
The individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. About hundreds of protesters then showed up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects, and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off. Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen. Our law enforcement are doing everything that they can to protect the public. We're praying for this deceased loved one's family and friends, but we also recognize that the Minnesota governor and the Minneapolis mayor need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. They need to evaluate their rhetoric, their conversations, and their encouragement of such violence against our citizens and our law enforcement officers. I'll remind you that Governor Walz today in his press conference said that our officers were not even law enforcement, which is a lie. He's called them the Gestapo. He's encouraged residents and citizens and violent rioters to resist. He's doxed their identities, putting themselves and their families' lives in jeopardy. He's refused to turn over murders to federal law enforcement officers. He's protected illegal criminals and protected them from being brought to justice, and even overseen a historic, unprecedented theft of American taxpayer dollars. Tens of billions of dollars were stolen under his watch, and he allowed it to happen, and in some instances may have even facilitated it.
But video evidence obtained by local media outlets appears to directly contradict the statements made by federal officials about what happened that day. The footage that surfaced online seems to show Alex Pretti holding only a mobile phone in his hand, with no visible weapon or sign of aggression toward the agents. Eyewitnesses say that Alex was pinned to the ground and shot after attempting to step in and protect 2 women who were being physically restrained by enforcement officers. Subsequent reports suggested that Border Patrol agents later removed a handgun from Alex's waistband after the shooting, raising further questions about their version of events. Officials in Minnesota have confirmed that Alex Pretti possessed a valid permit to carry a concealed firearm in public, a right protected by both state law and the U.S. Constitution. Political analysts believe the Minneapolis killings are likely to dominate the public discourse ahead of the critical midterm congressional elections later this year. Ironically, Alex Pretti's death has triggered an unexpected reversal in American politics, reigniting fierce debates over gun rights among Republicans and Democrats alike. The Trump administration, long associated with expansive Second Amendment protections, has now faced backlash for labeling a legally armed citizen as a terrorist. This has placed the Republican Party in a contradictory position, as it has traditionally championed largely unrestricted access to firearms as a core conservative value. Several major gun rights organizations have condemned the administration's language, arguing that Alex's right to self-defense and lawful ownership must not be criminalized. The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus issued a sharp statement saying, "Every peaceable Minnesotan has the right to bear arms, including at protests, without being shot for it." At the same time, a Reuters poll indicated that nearly 39% of Trump's own Republican supporters now want to see stricter limits on how I.C.E. uses force during operations. These incidents in Minneapolis have given fresh momentum to Democratic lawmakers, who are using the moment to renew their demand for a full-scale overhaul of I.C.E. ahead of the elections. In response to the unrest, President Trump has authorized the deployment of thousands of armed and masked federal agents across the country in what his administration calls an unprecedented deportation effort. Government data shows that in just the first year of Trump's second term, I.C.E. has arrested more than 43,000 individuals classified as potential national security risks. Meanwhile, Minnesota's governor, Tim Walz, has publicly urged the White House to withdraw all federal agents from the state, citing rising tensions and a complete breakdown of public trust.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.